Hello, as you can see, today I've got the model that many were asking about, and it's one of the most awaited reviews according to the comments. It's BGVP DM6, so it's a 5-driver balanced armature model from China. Lot of ultra positive reviews, lot of good opinions, really one of best-selling models in the history of Chinese brands. This model is constantly out of stock, but usually you can make a pre-order and after a few weeks of waiting you can get them. If you will be interested, the link is in the description. Price is $200, and for this price you will have an interesting model. And now let's have a closer look. Box is simple and minimalistic, but minimalism is trendy now, so BGVP is following the trend. On the back side there are technical specifications listed, 5 balanced armatures. As BGVP said, they are made by Knowles, and actually Knowles balanced armatures are really expensive, so drivers themselves will be really expensive for this model. So BGVP have no margin if it's real Knowles drivers. Sensitivity is 112 decibels, they are pretty sensitive, 20 ohms of impedance. Luckily they don't have ultra low impedance that would make them hard to find the proper source. Frequency response from 10 Hz to 40 kHz, low distortion rate, everything is pretty good. Inside of the outer box we'll have another box made of recycled cardboard. Here is DM6 themselves. I'm really a bit nervous because I waited for this model for so long. They were constantly out of stock. So here are the tips. Let me put it back. Cable, warranty card and manual. Additional set of silicone tips, pair of foam tips packaged in plastic case, I don't know why. Another different silicone tips with wider openings, and a brush for cleaning. As you can see, accessory set is pretty good for this model. In terms of build quality, they are good. You know, it's traditional level for the modern Chinese in-ear monitors. They are made of acrylic, usually transparent, and they are made in this semi-custom body. They are looking nice, they are fitting nice, and as usual, that's what you can expect. There are a lot of different color options for the DM6. You can even order some custom designs. I'm not sure how long will it take for them to fulfill the custom orders, but I've got this interesting tint of green that reminds me old Soviet beer bottles. They have the same green glass actually. Ergonomics is really nice, shape is really good, soft, no sharp edges, everything is fitting nicely into ears. Spouts are not very long, so sound isolation is about average or even a bit below average, but still pretty acceptable for noisy street or public transport. It has a small lip for holding tips, so everything is pretty okay. No filters inside, but I suppose there are filters before the drivers. Of course, cable is made replaceable. MMCX connectors used here. Let me see, is it left or right? This one is right, so I need the left one. Connectors are pretty nice, they've got good clamping force, so everything is nice. Cable build is also really good, it looks stylish, it has metal MMCX connectors, really looking stylish, and cable is thick, it's nicely braided, it's soft, it has almost zero microphonics thanks to these ear hooks. No memory wire inside, but it's pretty good ear hooks for securing the cable around your ear, and cable is nicely braided, it looks pretty attractive. It goes way down to the splitter. Instead of chin sliders they just put some silicone tube, and here is splitter, and of course no soldering here, and it goes just braided way down to the angled connector. As you can see, connector looks really audiophilic. Metal, angled, shiny, bold. So in terms of build quality and wearing comfort, really good in-ear monitors, but you know, now in the price range from $100 to $300 there are a lot of nicely built models. But anyway, I like those. And of course about the sound. You know, I've waited for them so long. When I've got the box, first I pull them out of box, I connected them, selected these big tips, put them on, connect them to my 361 QLS and turn it on, and I was frustrated. You know, they sound really average or even below average. You know, I just couldn't understand why people say so many good things about those. Well, I tried to burn them in a little bit, but of course balanced armatures don't require burn-in. And I tried different tips, it doesn't help, and I tried different sources without any luck. And then I found who is guilty. So this cable is total, well, maybe if I say some swear words, I will become more popular reviewer. I will be more popular on YouTube, but I am trying to be polite and don't use obscene words. So this cable is really the weak part of this IEMs. I don't know why BGVP put it in the box, but actually FiOS LC 2.5C really changed them drastically, and now they are sounding really good. Well, to be honest, I can't say that, like, you know, this model is play like $500 in-ear monitors, or compare them with, for example, Andromedas, like some other reviewers did. But this is a really good competitive model in their price range, maybe a bit above price range, but actually it's $200 IEMs, and you will have sound on that level. And if you're going to order them, do yourself a favor and order some spare cable with them too. For example, FiO or some other. I will probably put a link to the description to some cable, but they definitely require cable replacement. With this cable, or with any other good cable, they became nice, well-tuned, balanced armatures, probably a bit V-shaped, with representation shifted a little bit to warmer side, but it's actually a pleasant warmth, not like this muddy sound. It's just a bit of added weight to lows and mids that make sound more realistic and more enjoyable. So let's have dub on the table and let's proceed. So bass here is typical balanced armature bass, nicely implemented. It's not as massive and is as weighty as dynamic one. It's not pumping as much air as big dynamic drivers. It won't make your skull cracking of sub bass, but it's a good bass with a bit added accent, with nice amount, with good resolution and texturing. Maybe it's not bass for some electronic dance music, but actually for me it's a good bass for such genres. But it's great bass for some acoustic instruments, for some real instruments, and so on and so forth. So good drum kicks, good rumble, all that explosions and other stuff like that are playing nicely. Of course, bass is a bit on faster side, as it's common for balanced armatures, but as programmers say, it's a feature, not a bug. As an example, I will use actually what I've got. Yes, I got yellow. You know, when you need some good illustration for low frequencies, you need some good electronic music, and of course yellow as a probably pioneers of this genre are among those who can easily serve an example. I can select any track, but Let It Be Soul on Ice from the Greatest Hits album. They've got a lot of three-dimensional effects, a lot of interesting findings in the tune, and of course these in-ear monitors will please you, because they've got accented lows with enough amount to represent this music, but also they got nice staging and clear mids and treble to represent everything. Speaking about mids, they are resolving, but not as resolving as some balanced armatures could be. So BGVP probably decided to sacrifice a bit of this typical razor sharp resolution of balanced armatures in order to get a bit more weighty representation, and usually, I like such compromise, because I'm not a fan of this nitpicking. I'm actually not a fan of absolutely natural sounding. I want sound to be a bit more lively, and for that purpose they definitely need to add some weight. So they are a bit slower and less resolving as the best, and as a bit less resolving than some balanced armatures, some best balanced armatures, but still they are more resolving than vast majority of dynamic drivers in this price range. So you will have a good resolution, a nice amount of emotions, and what is the most important, you will have the proper weight, because with many balanced armatures, even more expensive ones, you will have hollow vocals, you will have not realistic thin instrument that sounds not like some real forte piano or some drum. They sound like some dot in the space that just makes sound. Those have real sized instruments, and they got really weighty emotional vocals. So I think it's a nice trade-off. Many people, often asking which IEMs are most resolving, but I'm trying usually to answer, don't try to get the most resolving, get the most natural. And as an example, for the, where are my playlists? For the mids, I've got one of the greatest ballads created in the heavy metal genre. It's Opus and it's Burden. It's an absolute masterpiece. It's not heavy, not without all that growl, without distorted guitars, without everything. It's just a perfectly performed ballad by perfect vocalist. Just go and listen it. There is a good there is a good video on YouTube recorded from some TV program where Opus performs this song, and I'm really jealous for people that living in the country that shows Opus on the TV in the prime time. It's a great ballad and perfect vocalist, and of course this in-ear monitors, they are playing nicely with this track, representing all the emotions and all the weight on the vocal. And now we are shifting to the treble, and actually probably it's the same case as with Magaosi K5, because treble here is normal, but if it would be a bit better, then I can say that those are giant killers. But treble here is okay, but not as good as it could be, and that's why they just sound good for their price, but not better than that probably. So treble is typical balanced armature with a bit faster attacks and decays, and it's sounding it causes treble being a bit lightweight without proper layering, but extension is nice, resolution is also nice. They got a slight accent on the treble, but pretty acceptable. At least they don't sound harsh, they don't sound like they don't have this hint of metal in the treble. So of course better extension would be better, and proper attacks in the case would be nice too, but at least the treble here is sounding pretty natural, so it's already a good thing to have. And treble do the job in balancing low frequencies pretty nicely. As an example of treble, I've got another heavy metal song, and even I can also recommend it. Even if you don't like heavy metal, A Massacre is a really unique band. They are not so brutal, and they got their style. Actually, for many years I'm waiting for their new album, but they didn't release anything. And actually, they released some album with Orphaned Land, but it's not the same thing. And unfortunately, Exodus Slaves for Life still is the only album they released. But I really recommend it because this progressive metal album has its atmosphere. It's a unique, this medieval sound. I really like it. I really like the story. Great, lot of acoustic effects, lot of different samples used here. It sounds really interesting and intriguing, and I can select any track, but Wooden Stuff would be a good example. There are a lot of percussion, a lot of different bells, a lot of whispers in this track, so it requires a good treble. Of course, more expensive models will sound better, but BGVP DM6 performs also pretty nicely. So, to summarize everything about the sound, good competitive model in its price range for those who'd like good resolution, but with a bit of added weight, and a bit V-shaped signature with a hint of added warmth. Pretty enjoyable, not for those who want some monitoring sound, not for those who like balanced armatures resolution, for those who like more natural sound and a bit more enjoyable than typical monitoring balanced armatures. Speaking about compression, there are a lot of models in this price range and by some other companies. Unfortunately, I didn't test, for example, all the INU lineup. They got a lot of models with HQ index HQ6, HQ8, HQ10, all with 6, 8, 10 drivers respectively. So just few brief models that I can think about. For example, some time ago I've got Magaosi K5. They are some way remind me those, but BGVP really improves in terms of treble. Treble here isn't perfect, but it's better than Magaosi's, and also they got a bit better emotions on the mids. For example, Campfire Audio Comet, probably I like them more. They've got more natural sound, and they got a bit less weighty lows. For example, they are more linear in lows and mids. So it's not universal tuning, so it's my comments are my subjective preference, but those have a bit more resolving mids and better extended treble, but not as good developed as for comets. There are, what else can recall in this price range. For example, there is Dunu Falcon C, really good dynamic driver model with tight and punchy bass, but it has less bass, for example, and mids are a bit thinner than here, and the treble is a bit more aggressive. Probably there are some other models, but I can't, continue comparing them over and over. So to summarize everything about the sound of BGVP DM6, also they probably require some normal source. They don't actually, source shouldn't be too darker, so maybe even brighter sources will be better for them, or at least natural. I like them with FIO M6, with Hidis AP80, with Ibasso dubs, so all models that are natural or brighter, on the brighter side. So to summarize, if you're looking for some musical and enjoying model, BGVP DM6 could be for you. But actually go and order spare cable. If I remember right, actually BGVP has separate cable with silver-plated copper for those, and just get it because stock cable is MNAs. Thank you for attention.